How are y'all doing? Y'all look beautiful. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really happy to be here. My name is Chima Ikoro. Folks also call me Naira. I'm a poet and an interdisciplinary writer. I'm also the community engagement editor for a newsroom here in Chicago called Southside Weekly. But I'm here, yeah. But I'm here representing Young Chicago Authors, which is the writing nonprofit that I'm a teaching artist at. So I'm gonna share some poems with y'all if that's cool. Okay, cool. But real quick though, if y'all just wanna take a breath with me, out, another one in, and out. So I'm gonna perform some pieces. The first one is kind of deep. So yeah, just remember your breathing and things like that as I will be breathing through it too. Sounds good? Beautiful. So this first piece is titled Intersection. There is a body hanging at the intersection of blackness and womanhood, and it's starting to smell. People have sent complaints to the city, said it's an atrocity. It was easy to ignore when she was first hung, but now her body is breaking down and she leaks onto their head tops and coffee cups during their commute. It's disgusting. Not the fact that she's dead, but that in her death, she has the audacity to command our attention. They are not appalled that she's dead. They are appalled that she's so angry about it. She's not saying anything, but nature is pulling her heart onto her sleeve. It's one thing to die. How dare you have the nerve to bleed? And for that, she is too loud. Her jaw dismembered hangs off the side of her skull. How ironic the citizens of this city have convinced themselves to be offended because she seems to be yelling at them, even though she's clearly screaming for help. All they hear is noise at this intersection. I'm sure she called 911, called a black man, called a human to see her as such, let out a blood-curdling scream, and the voice on the other line requested she lower her tone. I said, a body got hung up on display at the intersection of Blackness Avenue and Womanhood Boulevard. There's a traffic signal placed over her face, like she had to die for y'all to see the signs, like I had to swing right here for y'all to know when to stop. I said there is a body that got strung up in broad daylight for everyone to see, a human, equal parts black, equal parts woman. If separated, the human would still be alive. The intersection of Blackness Avenue and Womanhood Boulevard, as busy as it gets, has no traffic signal. So deadly, that intersection, but every so often people stop to marvel at the new body that hangs there, the life that y'all had to see taken in order to slow down and stop running us over for a second until she leaks into your peace and the city takes her down and tosses her out. No one ever called to ask the city to put a traffic signal at that intersection so we could stop getting killed, but they are quick to complain when a dead body ruins their appetite, as if speeding through my identity with no regard for my existence didn't scream a thirst for blood, as if pieces of our hair aren't caught in your bumper, as if you didn't know I wasn't just a speed bump when you ran me over and turned me into a figurehead so the world can pretend to care about us and sign petitions to make the intersection of Blackness Avenue and Womanhood Boulevard safer until we stink and get dumped with the rest of our sisters. And a man or a white woman walks past an old bloodstain turned brown on the concrete, an old post, a hashtag, and says, oh yeah, isn't that, oh my gosh, what's her name? And that's that piece. So, just to explain the ending of the poem as well, as some of y'all know, there is a movement or like a hashtag, say her name, and the purpose of that movement is to remind folks to remember the names of Black women who are also victims to violence. Oftentimes our names are, or folks' names are forgotten, and so yeah, just wanted to shed some light on that. So thanks y'all for rocking with me. I'm gonna move to the next poem, okay? Cool. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Okay, cool. So, my students always laugh at me because I'm always like, beautiful, beautiful, all right, let's go. Okay, cool. So this next poem is titled Explorer. I'm first gen Nigerian American. My parents came to Chicago in the 70s. My dad went to Chicago State University. And so I'm super, super, super South Side, if you can't tell. So yeah, this piece is titled Explorer. My dad says, Don't make a U-turn at the intersection. As we leave La Fruteria on Commercial, identified a corner round and worn. Tells me, before he owned a house or had a credit score, a bunch of plainclothes cops in an unmarked car snatched him up and showed him what urban renewal feels like. I don't know how to ask if he was sure those were even cops. A transplant tells me tales of their South Shore escapades, as if I'm the one that's new here. I guess I move further north with every apartment, but my mom has only ever lived south, far south. So far, when I moved to Hyde Park, she told my aunt that I lived on the north side. Things are different now, I say, making a U-turn in front of the unmarked Ford Explorer. The license plate says Michigan, and that's that piece. I feel like poetry is so interesting because folks are always like trying to be like super, super, super quiet. But I know that earlier folks talked about, sermons, and I feel like I also speak in sermons as well. So, you can shout me down if you want to, But, but I'm gonna do one last poem if that's cool with y'all. Okay, this piece is titled Growing Uninvited. I grew up in a single-story home with a big basement and a broken doorbell in a neighborhood where my dad wasn't allowed to sell ice cream when he first came to this country. The doorbell broke a long, long time ago and just never got fixed. We weren't the type to receive unexpected company. If you were on the way, we already knew, so it was fine. Here, he would tend the grass and replace the flowers as if required by law, says, in a place like this, your neighbors will notice if your property isn't well kept. I only saw the marigolds and hydrangea bushes for what they were, decoration, shrubbery to hide in or feel protected by or disguised by my mom, twisting her larynx to sound more normal when she asked my neighbors how they're doing. There was this rose bush under my bedroom window, growing in the wrong spot. No matter how many times my dad cut it down, it kept growing back. Isn't there a poem somewhere in here? My parents, standing at this country's front door, the doorbell defunct, not waiting for or wanting any visitors, still multiplying despite missing eviction by a single thorn every month for years. My dad was at the library when my mom went into labor. Who could be mad? A man whose parents couldn't read or write, missing the birth of a daughter who would grow up to multiply her words into weapons that could not be pruned or tended or cut down. I also learned to twist my voice when I'm at our house as well. Instead, I do it to sound more like our home. And that's that piece. Thank you so much. That first panel was beautiful. Y'all talked about a lot of really important stuff. I also forgot to mention that I co-founded a mutual aid organization called Black Rising with some of my friends as a direct response to the pandemic and the uprisings in 2020. And yeah, it's very true. Like, first of all, a lot of the people who were on the megaphones and on the ground were women and non-men and queer folks. And also that, like, folks didn't know where they were going to sleep at night after protesting and handing out food and things like that. And so thank y'all for the work that y'all are doing. Y'all look beautiful, and I'm excited to see the rest of the event. Once again, my name is Naira. Bye.